Hey there, my name is Jason Bradley. You may recognize my voice from such places as the Community Solutions Podcast, which, by the way, you're listening to now. Before we begin, can I bend your ear for just a moment? We want to bring you the very best in quality and information each week. You can help us achieve that level of greatness. If you sell something, want to announce something, or try to convince others to vote for you, consider advertising on the Community Solutions Podcast. You can email us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com, and we'd love to help you tell everyone about what you do. Once again, that's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. Let us be your solution to increase sales. We thank you ahead of time for your consideration. Okay, enough yammering. On with the show. All right, hold tight. We're your highway star. We are the Community Solutions Podcast. We are here with another installment, episode 27, thrown headlong into State Fair time. Andrew, he's here with me. I'm Jason Bradley. Yeah, Andrew, you going to the State Fair at all?
I am not. It's strange. I kind of make it an every other year thing.
Oh.
I almost always go in the even years. And my wife and I went last year, and we're not going this year, but I'm sure we'll go again. And I'm sure I'll be working somebody's booth or something like I usually do. So, but no, I am not going. Are you going this year?
No, I don't. When did I go last? 14 years ago.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
I like it. I just don't care for the bellyache I have for the next 4 days. Have a deep-fried squid or whatever they've got out there.
Deep-fried squid.
Coyote legs or something. Always selling something like that.
Coyote legs. That's great. I don't think...
Roadrunner stew. They got something.
Oh, bald eagle on a stick, whatever it is. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
You know what my favorite thing is though about the fair?
What?
The thing where if you haven't been there in a while, I'm not sure if you know, but there's this little swing, kind of like a ski lift people are on.
Oh, yeah,
that
the
goes
gondola
around.
ride, yeah.
Yeah, and I call it the sandal dropping ride because you'll walk by, all of a sudden people's sandals will fall off. You see somebody get hit in the head with somebody's sandals. They're, hey, hold on to that, I'm coming down for it in a little bit. And you see sandals fall.
Only at the State Fair.
Only in Minnesota, too.
It's a good time, I tell you.
It is a good time, but I'll tell you, once every 2 years is enough for me. Put it that way. And I when I worked for Tom Emmer back in the day, I went to some of the county fairs in his parades and stuff around during the summer. They were a lot of fun. I went to Todd County up in Long Prairie. And I think Little Falls had the Morrison County Parade, and so I got some of the county fairs are a lot of fun as well, along with the State Fair.
I used to go to the St. Louis County Fair every year when I was growing up, and I enjoyed that.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
It's a good alternative, too, if you don't want to go to the State Fair and want to go to something smaller or something like that. It's a good alternative, I think.
Wow.
You won't see the Rolling Stones come and play, but
but you might see Winger.
Yeah, or Bob Marley Jr., Ziggy Marley, or something. I don't know. You'll have a good time. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
No matter what. And there's greasy, awful food anywhere you want to go. It's great.
Oh, you can't argue with that one bit. And you need something like that once in a while. I mean, especially when you need a lot of greasy food when you're trying to swallow a subject like we got today.
Yeah, and it's not a new subject.
No.
I mean, it's a subject that we've already done a podcast on this year. And we've got further information, some more detailed information. We mentioned that we're going to do follow-up shows on things that subjects we've touched on earlier.
Yeah.
This is one of those episodes.
Sometimes an hour isn't enough. You know, you don't pay for university, go to one class and say, now I've mastered business law. You just don't do it. You have to go to a series of classes, because it's only there that you get the in-depth information that you need.
And here at Community Solutions, I'll go on the record.
Okay.
We do a better job of that than most universities.
That's true.
And I don't have tenure here, okay? So, I mean, we do a good job of following up and giving the details. And you know, part of this, you know, we're not going to bore you with too many details. I mean, let me say that too. But
just enough to make you upset.
Yeah. And the city that right now is top of my poop list is the city of New Hope. New Hope.
Yes.
But they're pretty much at the top. That city could screw up a one-car parade. They could screw up the 27 Yankees. That city is incoherent, and I have no other better way to describe it. Financially, they are reckless, out of control. They've got a clique that's run that city for a long, long time. They got city staff that may as well be the council.
Yep.
It's pretty brutal.
It is.
Pretty bad. Thank God I don't live there.
Oh.
Thank God for them, too, that I don't live there. It would be even twice as bad. It'd be way worse than I am.
Imagine that. You would be in the business of going to city council meetings twice a month. That'd be a big deal for you, too.
Watch them. That's bad enough.
Well...
And I have not been to any of their work sessions, but I'm guessing not much. If I had to judge, not much
work gets
debates
done.
Going. Yeah, work session is in air quotes.
Yeah.
It's, you know. But, you know, there's kind of three things going on, Jay, in New Hope that we want to touch on.
Right.
And we'll just throw them out there. One of them is collectivized garbage hauling.
Yep.
The other one is their budget situation.
Yep.
And whatever they're trying to say on their website. And the other one is this new City Hall pool project, the police station that we've talked about, we've touched on in the spring. But we got a lot more info, and it is getting fast-tracked.
It is. They want this done.
They want it done. They don't want it happening next summer when they're all up for re-election. They want it happening right now, so you'll forget about it.
That's right.
Of course, they won't forget to come and get your money, but
And chances are in New Hope, I mean, everybody will run a post anyways, and then that's the way it goes. You don't have any choice but to vote for them. So they're the only ones running. We'll see if that's different this year.
Yeah, we'll definitely see.
We'll see. So why don't we start with our favorite topic, organized garbage hauling, because I know you love it as much as I do.
I love it so much I want to marry it. I don't want to marry it, but yeah, you know, we've done whole shows on this subject before.
Yes.
And how this is sort of making the rounds everywhere. I mean, chances are where you live has organized garbage hauling. They're considering it. They have considered it. Mm-hmm. They might consider it. I guarantee you've got a city staff member who has gone to some workshop or something where they've talked about this. So it's an issue that's, you know, here and not going anywhere.
Right.
And New Hope, in typical New Hope fashion, held a little meeting where on August 7th, where they were not going to answer questions. That was the first, as I watched this meeting, and you had one frustrated audience. The council was not going to answer questions, which is why you'd hold a public hearing and not allow questions. I don't... kind of defeats the purpose, but that's New Hope.
Because then the public can't hear if they're talking. They're there to hear. It's a public hearing, not a public talking.
I guess so. Of course, the council was free to make comments, but weren't free to do anything. Where they kicked around the idea. Now, the audience was quite hostile to this. I mean, I didn't quite keep count, because it got repetitive, and I would say there were maybe 30 to 35 people who actually I don't want to call it gave testimony, but spoke at that, and they were allowed a few minutes to speak, and I would say probably it was 4-1 against. If I had to pick the temperature of the room, you couldn't have missed it. It wasn't 50-50, wasn't 60-40. You had a handful of people who either wanted it or were open to it. Not everybody who spoke quote unquote in favor of it was jumping up and down for it.
Right.
So it was pretty hostile. And again, the world's run by who shows up. It's something we preach.
Right.
That if you feel passionate about something, you got to be there. And who knows how many people sent in emails or phone calls who couldn't make it for whatever reason. But the city hasn't really been deterred by that.
No, and we've found that. I mean, the old adage, you can't beat City Hall, that's because people show up to city council meetings and try to change their minds when they've already been talking about things in work sessions for a long time. You want to have an impact. You show your face, even though you can't talk at a work session, you show your face and you sit through that work session. You communicate early in the process. And I think that's a big part of this, is we've seen hostile crowds before. We've seen standing room only before, and
we've organized them.
We've organized them, and we've seen city councils undeterred go about their business because they already had a plan in place, and they've weighed the risks, and they understand. They think they can beat it, but you are right. He who shows up, is the one who kind of rules in the end, and it's about showing up over and over and over, though. I mean, you can't come once and then go and go back under, into your den.
True. And that's the thing, too. The city knows that.
Right.
They wait you out. They know you're not going to show up 8 meetings in a row.
Right.
So my guess is if they're going to do this, they're going to wait for the storm to blow over.
Yeah.
And they'll do it sometime over the winter or something.
Yeah.
And they're just playing a waiting game right now. They know that.
Right.
So the people who are pushing this, and I love this. This is from their website, www.ci.newhope.mn.us, where they have a whole page on organized garbage hauling.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing you see here is sort of a description. New Hope currently has an open garbage collection system where individuals can choose their own garbage hauler. With an organized garbage hauling collection system, collectivization, the key word,
right,
one or more garbage haulers would contract with the city, blah, 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 blah. That's kind of a myth in itself.
Right.
One or more is stretching the truth. You may have a garbage hauler and a recycling hauler, but they're not going to contract with 7 different companies to come in and do this.
Oh, no. Now, a city like Minneapolis might, because you can break the city up into sections, but a city the size of New Hope, you're going to have 1.
Right. And you may have 2, you may split it in half.
Well, you might.
Because one of the problems with organized garbage hauling is they want more service for a lower price.
Yeah.
Because the low price is what they're going to sell you on. But the low price is a myth, because the competition in the long run is what keeps the price down.
Right.
Once you have one hauler, you have no market forces to control the price anymore.
Right, and I've said it before, the largest one is the one that usually wins because they can afford to take the losses in the short term in order to jack up the rates later and make money. In order to quadruple the size of their customers.
Yes. Yeah, small people are going to get phased out of this. And so ultimately, this is taking away your freedom of choice. They have a pavement analysis study, and I've seen this before. This is clearly making the rounds.
Yeah.
One study, they think... I can't figure out, Jay, for the life of me, I cannot figure out how you quantify the damage, quote-unquote, roads are built to be driven on.
Yes.
How a garbage truck, how can you quantify what that does to a city street. Not every city street's the same. They're not all built the same, made the same, done by the same companies.
They don't all have the same functions.
Yeah, they don't. And they don't, what if everybody on a block has a huge van or I don't know how you single out garbage trucks from I drive on my streets every day. Yeah, I mean
UPS,
FedEx, mail truck, anything, and you've got, of course, the big trucks driving down the bigger streets, not the city streets. But they cut through occasionally, and so I just don't understand all the wear and tear from walking and biking, even though it's a lot less. But, U-Haul trucks,
storms and erosion and,
anything can happen over a 50-year life of a street.
Right.
How do you quantify? How do you honestly do that and single out garbage trucks as the cause of a road going bad?
Well, you see, they've hired people that are much smarter than you and I to figure this out. So
who are they? I don't know who they are.
No, they have studies, but they're studies to the contrary. There are studies that'll prove in air quotes that garbage trucks cause more wear and tear on the streets than other vehicles, and there are studies that will show that they don't. There's really no definitive evidence.
Right, and let's just for the sake of conversation say, okay, garbage trucks might contribute more. They probably do. I guess
they're a little heavier.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But I mean, the garbage truck going through a neighborhood one day a week.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that destroys a road single-handedly.
No.
I mean, when I lived in Champlin, and I got a big pickup truck. Yeah. I drove down the street every day. Mm-hmm. Multiple times. People across the street had a huge, Spanish caravan. Okay? Or whatever, they had like the van from Back to the Libyans. How could they probably drove up and down the street 30 times in a week?
Right.
And the garbage truck came once.
Yeah.
And maybe there were 3 garbage trucks in the little neighborhood that I was in. And I just think that what is the purpose of singling them out as like some sort of villain in the neighborhood?
Because it can be monetized.
It can be monetized, controlled. Mm-hmm. It can be used by the environmentalists as some sort of the world's going to end if 2 garbage trucks go down the street. Right. I don't know. It just kind of, when did this start? That garbage trucks were putting out the garbage is something people don't even think about half the time. Mm-hmm. It's gone. You get a bill, and your bill's not. But when I had my house, that bill wasn't very big compared to some of my other bills.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Now in 2015, here's New Hope's analysis here. Here's how they take a poll.
This is hard hitting.
This
folks.
is tough here. Mm-hmm. A telephone survey of 400 New Hope residents. Of course, we don't know. To me, that means nothing without details.
400 in a city of 23,000.
Right. And we don't know, are these homeowners? Are these not homeowners? Does it have one section of the city versus another section? People's views may be different. Indicated that, and I wonder how many people really understand what organized. I mean, if I just got a phone call, hey, do you want to organize garbage hauling? Yes or no? Okay. I mean, what's the? I don't know what the. I've always said this. You can make a poll, give whatever answer you want.
Right.
52% of those surveyed supported garbage collection, so that's about 200 and change. Mm-hmm. 35% were opposed, and 13% were undecided. So 1 out of 8 people were asleep or dead or whatever, I don't know. 35%, so what would that be out of 400? 150 maybe? Something like that. So that's not a very big sample, nor is it. I'd like to see the questions that were asked. Right. That would kind of dictate what the answers were.
Well, we know what city surveys are like.
Yeah.
And they're pretty vague.
And they're pretty, I'll give you an example. Hello, what do you think of the fire department service in your city? Well, I don't know. I've never called them before.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to have an opinion whether they're doing a good job or not when I've never used them?
Right.
It's just kind of I'm saying this, and this is probably a good thing. I'm 40 years old. I've never dialed 911 in my life.
That's good.
Now, I've dealt with the Crystal Police before when I lived in Crystal, not necessarily in a good or bad way. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, how do you rate a fire department?
Yeah.
What's my scale? What are my what's my barometer there? I don't know. So you're right though. That's the kind of questions though that we're talking about.
Right.
So I think they're designed to not give the best answers.
They may never have mentioned organized garbage hauling. They might have just said something to the effect of, do you think that garbage hauling would be better if it had more wear and tear on the streets or less wear and tear on the streets?
Or they might have asked something like, do you think there are too many garbage trucks, not enough? Or, they might have asked a question like that too. So, yeah, I dismiss that as typical New Hope chicanery.
Right.
Typical, walking into a door or something and making that up. And who knows? They don't even cite the survey. They could be making that up for all we know. I bet if 52% were opposed, they wouldn't put it out there. So, whatever. Okay, next paragraph. New Hope City Council's in no hurry to make a decision. Well, they sure seem to be.
Yeah.
They're talking about it every single month. So if they're not in a hurry, they're good actors.
Well, they want you to think they're not in a hurry because then you'll be surprised when they come up with a decision.
Right. It'll be, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
So they had their listening session. Then my favorite part. Okay. Organized collection studies. Now we talked about the heavy impacts one.
Yeah.
I've seen this Fort Collins one, which by the way is almost 10 years old now.
Yeah.
I have seen that in other cities before. That's another thing making the rounds. Mm-hmm. That's another thing. One city, monkey see, monkey do. They copy the others. Of course, the benefits of organized collection from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency.
Of course.
Which, of course, is in charge of Green Step. And they are hardly objective on this.
Oh, they would have one garbage hauler for the entire metro if they could.
They'd have one for the entire world. Now, here, and I'm quoting them, so if they want to moan and crab about this, I'm reading from their fact sheet, again, using air quotes on the radio.
Now you're talking about
PCA.
PCA, okay.
Here's myth. They have a myth. Myth. Organized collections mean there'll be only one hauler in the community. Here's the fact. There are examples of cities that have organized and chosen a group of haulers instead. And what cities are those exactly?
I would guess they're very large cities.
But hold on though. They're misrepresenting only one hauler in the community. Yes, they can split it up in zones, but you as a customer
don't have a choice.
So that's BS how they worded that.
Yeah.
Are you listening, PCA? This is garbage.
Exactly.
I'm going off.
We could have 27 haulers in a city, and they each have their zones. You're still not going to have a choice.
Right. So that's... What do you mean that's a myth? They just lied about their own myth. Okay? Small haulers will never... This is myth number 2.
Okay.
Small haulers will never win the contract. Well, here's the truth, quote unquote. That depends on the values of the city. If a city chooses to promote a local and or small business, small haulers have an advantage. Really? Really?
Okay.
You believe that?
I don't.
I don't believe that for a second. That is garbage. What they're trying to do, okay, is they're trying to tell you that, here's what the city's going to do. They have to charge a lower price to sell this. It's the small hauler who can't do that.
And we've seen it a billion times, whether it's... And not to cause any kind of dispersion on anybody, but Menards versus True Value, or you have a big company, Target, that comes into a community. All the small, boutique stores go out of. Walmart comes in, or Walgreens comes in. The local pharmacy eventually goes out of business. Right. It happens a million times,
and it's not. Right. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, or people choose to shop.
It happens.
It absolutely does. So, I mean, I don't buy for a minute that that's the truth. I think the small haulers are dying a slow death. I mean, and here's the thing. Some of the small haulers are combining and becoming big haulers.
Yeah.
I know that when I lived in Crystal, I had switched haulers. I think it was Allied Waste I was using.
Okay.
I had a friend or two who worked there. That was part of the reason. All of a sudden, after 2 years, they combined with another company.
Right.
And combined with another company. So I think what's happening is the small haulers are becoming big companies. Then all you're going to have are 4 big companies.
Right.
All you're going to have is Menards, Lowe's, and Home Depot.
Yeah.
And everybody else is going to be gone. That's what's going to happen to us if this continues. Because there's no way. And, a small hauler could lose a contract. They could be out of business. What about all the people who work for them?
Mm-hmm.
And their health care and their families?
Yeah.
Why would you put them out of work?
Well, that's kind of how government does it, though.
Yeah. Are you ready for myth number 3?
I am.
Organized collection creates a monopoly. So we're going to have one hauler, but that's not a monopoly. That's according to the PCA, your Pollution Control Agency. The most effective method of keeping rates low is to consistently rebid waste services through open and competitive process at the end of every contract. Well, let me tell you something. First off, no company is going to take on a city with a 6-month contract.
Right.
They're going to hire people. They're going to buy more garbage trucks. They're going to do what they can. But look, I got to know in 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm not out of here.
It's going to be no less than a year. I would assume 2 years.
I would
probably.
even. It could be longer than that. It could be a 3-4 year contract with maybe a 2-year out.
Yeah.
It could be something like that. But I'm telling you, we're going to have one hauler, but that doesn't create a monopoly. Think about that.
Right.
Think about that wording, all in like 2 lines that I'm reading. And by the way, we've talked about this before too, that some of the bigger companies aren't the most environmentally friendly.
Right.
If you really want to be honest about it, some of the bigger companies in the world are the most carefree. If that's your concern, I don't know that necessarily this makes much difference. All right. So anyway, that's enough about talking garbage, literally.
Know that they're working on it, and you should be in their work sessions and in their meetings and emailing them and calling them right now if this is something that you don't want, because they have created the narrative that this is what over half of the people in New Hope want, and rest assured they're going to find the excuse to do it if you don't step in and prove to them that they shouldn't.
They got a list of excuses already written.
Yep.
They're just waiting to bring them out.
It's true. Well, and all of this kind of goes, you talk about a city collecting money for garbage hauling. I mean, that would then be a part of your utility bill, stuff like that. I would assume cities collecting money. Where New Hope loves to collect money. They love collecting money more than I love collecting money.
If New Hope could have their own printing press, I think they'd have it.
Yeah.
They probably in City Hall have something making up money, making up phony dollar bills.
Right.
Wouldn't surprise me. They want their own Federal Reserve, I think.
Oh, well, they have some interesting thoughts about collecting money via their tax levy.
Well, they do it. It's that time of year, and we did a show a few weeks ago on the budget process and what to look for. And preliminary levies will be passed in September. They have to be legally by state law. New Hope, I tell you what, again, I got to give them credit. They win most difficult to read. Now, you and I have been doing this for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing this a while. And I got to say, their section, now first off, they had a work session about their budget on August 21st. That's where I'm getting the information, by the way. Their packet is 266 pages long. Oh. Now, how many pages do you think the average council person read? Maybe sitting on the can, sitting on the throne.
I will say they looked at the title page, maybe the table of contents, and
the nice little graphs, and charts.
They flipped through the graphs.
Yeah, saw the pretty colors. And
looked at okay, so what's the total damage, and that's.
I wonder if they delved in very much to what their preliminary budget states, which, by the way, starts on page 187 of it. So, not exactly out front for people who want to.
No.
I mean, why couldn't they take the budget part and make it separate on the website? So here's the budget info that we're thinking of. They could have made it 3 pages long.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously they're trying to bury it. Now, listen to this, and I'll explain this because this is not easy to explain, and I'm not 100% sure I'm right about this. I think I am. The preliminary general fund budget is proposed to be about $13,737,000, which over 2017 is only a 1.3% increase. Now, here comes the details.
Right.
You have to see. The general fund levy increase will be 4.53%. Now, back up a minute.
Yeah.
Their fund budget is their total amount, but the levy doesn't make up 100% of that.
Right.
So, something else, they're going to raise the levy 4.5%.
Yeah.
They're going to raise total spending 1.3%. Now, there's caveats to this.
Right.
There's details that don't make a lot of sense in this. Now, there's going to be a $246,000 increase just for cost of living, wages, and benefits.
Oh my goodness.
$250,000. Now that's just the increase.
Yeah.
Okay. They want a new inspector position. And I think this is one of the inspectors that is going to pay for themselves by handing out fines. Guess what the
Gadget.
Yeah, the total cost for this position, I'm assuming this includes benefits, is about $77,000.
Wow.
They're adding another park and rec employee at the cost of about, actually they're going from part-time to full-time. $39,000 is the cost of that. There is a decrease to the they're decreasing a police officer, but that is deceptive.
Okay.
Because District 287 is no longer there. That's the old Hosterman site.
Yeah.
They had added a police officer to kind of keep order in that neighborhood or something like that.
Okay.
Now they're, through attrition, they are eliminating that, but they're, it's kind of questionable. Also, there was another highlight. Where the hell is it? Something about they don't think because of the construction their pool will be operating next year.
Right.
So they're not going to have the costs, but in 2019, the cost of the pool will return.
Absolutely.
So they're kind of
enjoy that.
Yeah. So they're kind of creating this myth that they're decreasing costs, but that cost is going to come back and more, as we'll get into when we talk about the new city hall. So it's it's hard to understand all of this. And then this is the most incredible thing to me. So the where the hell is it? Oh, LGA. They are getting an increase of $71,000 in LGA. Almost 10% more than they got in 2017. Yet they are still increasing spending and increasing the levy 4.5%. So that's also part of the myth,
right?
That they're whining and complaining about LGA, so they're getting more. They're getting $71,000. They could pay for that position that I was talking about just with the LGA,
right?
But no, they're increasing the levy, and remember that's your tax dollars too.
Yeah.
So they're getting more, and now they're increasing more.
Of course they are.
So, and I understand, folks, that this is not. I got this all in front of me, and this is not easy to grasp listening to it. But this is, again, it took me hours of looking at this to I think I have it right, though, of where this is going and what they're doing exactly. And there's also some general fund and debt service things that are increasing 7.9%, and over the 2017, a 3% increase to street and park infrastructure levies. Also, the doubling of the franchise fee, which is, remember, that's not part of the levy.
That's true.
Yeah, and they did that last spring. So you're getting the double the franchise fees,
right,
but that's not in the levy. So you can, like I said, we talked about the budget and how complex this is, and you're seeing it right here in New Hope that spending's only going up 1.3%, but that's not true when you look at what you are actually having to cut a check for in New Hope.
Right.
Now, I think I've got all that right. Jay, your thoughts? You sit here and listen to me and talk about a lot.
No, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And you talk about an increase in LGA and an increase in spending and an increase in the budget itself, and they're still whining and complaining that they don't have enough, and we'll talk about that later with some of the bonding and stuff that they're recommending. It blows my mind, because they're gonna come out and they're gonna say, oh, we're only raising it 3% or 4% or whatever they decide. But they're getting more money from the state, which is, again, tax dollars that the state collects and redistributes however it sees fit. You're going to be paying not only interest but principal on bonds that are going to, again, we'll talk about
doubling the franchise fee.
Yeah, doubling the franchise fee. You guys, you're being taxed so many different ways that it would make your head spin if you began to start looking at this stuff in depth.
Yeah, and remember that, they're creating a TIF district right now for those apartments that are going up by the golf course there.
Yeah.
That is creating a new TIF district.
Again, that is taxes.
And remember, they created one for that Hosterman site too that they just finished.
Yeah.
So you've got two new spots where the money is outmoded. The increments aren't coming for
right.
And we could do a whole show on TIF.
And that's called tax increment financing. And at some point we should do a show on TIF.
It does work similar to bonding.
Yep.
It is a borrowing against a future gain, which is kind of the same principle, but in a different way, because it's private property.
Right.
But to understand, here's my question. Okay, we've talked about this before. Why can't it be broken down into $500 is coming out of my property taxes to the city?
Yeah.
And that's it. I want to know where that $500 is going, and that's all.
Yeah.
Why does it have to look like this?
Because if people really understood it, they'd be furious.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about this too. The state has contributed to this.
Yeah.
With the merry-go-round of money.
Yep.
The street aid, the LGA, the para reimbursement, all the stuff we've talked about.
Yeah.
Or will talk about. But to try to figure this out, literally, it's almost like you've got to be a IRS auditor to get this. You and I do this all the time, and it took me forever to get and there's no chart with this. There's no page that shows anything. It's all just financial mumbo jumbo that is designed to get your head to spin.
Exactly. New Hope, you take the cake again. I mean, unbelievable. Last year, 10% increase. This year,
7.5% the year before that.
7.5% the year before that. Now this year, when you take all of this into consideration, I mean, I don't even know what to propose as a number. Like, if you were looking at how much are my taxes going up percent-wise, there's no way to really quantify
No,
that.
there's not. Because you'd have to take the franchise fee and the increase on top of their debt service, on top of their TIF outmoded, on top of the bonds that we're talking about and the interest you'd have to pay in the future, and the levy. And think about your state tax dollars getting spit back to New Hope and how much money's lost in that process.
Yeah.
You really can't do it anywhere almost.
Right. And with New Hope, do they run on assessments for street repair?
No, they do not.
They're in the general fund. So that's all there. Well, not the general fund, but it's split.
Yeah, that's another half myth out there that they pay as they go. They don't really.
No.
So, and again, that's... no, they don't run assessments. They can. A statutory city is different than a charter city as far as what they can do. There's charter cities they're not quite free to write their own. That's a little bit of a myth too, but they can spell it out. Whereas a statutory city just refers to the state's guidelines with that.
Right.
And there are limits on how much can be assessed or can be used as debt in relation to your tax capacity. Same thing with TIF. So again, they don't assess, but it's not all coming just from the general fund. And by the way, they do get municipal street aid, which is another state program. That's your gas tax dollars. So they are getting money from other sources. So, and New Hope hasn't done the greatest job of planning and putting away money and avoiding all the debt like we've seen in Crystal, and even the old councils in Crystal put money aside. They did assess for the street reconstruction, but the roads are not in great shape, I don't think, over in New Hope.
No, they're not great. There's some that are fine.
There's some that are okay, but there's some parts that are pretty rotten. I'm not talking about Boone and Winnett. They don't deal with those streets. We're talking just about city streets.
Right. And then I know I've noticed, like in their master plans for the whole city center redo and stuff like that, that they want to spice up their Metro Transit hubs and stuff like that. So does that come from the taxes that go to Metro Transit? Is that something that is going, does New Hope pay for that completely? Is county taxes kick in? I mean, it's like...
It'll be a cluster blank of all of them. Because you're talking about... Here's the dilemma there. You're talking about Boone Avenue, Winnetka, 42nd... They're not city streets.
Right.
So you're going to have a quasi of grants. We all know what the grants come with, strings.
Right.
You're going to have the county and Metro Transit demanding this and this and this, encouraging high density around it.
Which they're planning on.
Right. And so on and so forth. So my guess is, and then you're going to have, like we said, street reconstruction aid money, which they collect, going into there too. So yes, you're going to have this pocket, this pocket, this pocket, and this pocket. Who has final say over it? I'm not 100% sure. They probably all have to a certain extent, agree on the guidelines, but I don't know who that contract would be awarded to. My guess is Metro Transit and Hennepin County. That would be my guess.
So again, I mean, it's just more of your tax dollars.
MnDOT could be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
all your tax
more
dollars.
of the same.
It's just you're getting hit from so many directions, and so when they tell you, "Oh, it's only going to go up X amount," it's going to be like a cup of coffee a day. That's the kind of thing that they say.
Latte a day keeps the government away.
But really, I mean, when you're paying a latte to 10 different people, it starts to get expensive on a daily basis.
Yeah, at some point, 3 cents here, 5 cents here, 10 cents there becomes real money.
Yeah.
Every time, at some point.
It does. So
yeah, there's our budget. I'll try to do a blog post on this too, maybe, to try to break this down a little bit more because it's so incomplete. Because they're not adding things like the franchise fees increase and things in here. But I'll tell you, folks, I'm not 100% sure I'm right on all this because it's so confusing to read. It's just I'm analyzing it with my 10 years of experience doing this as best I can do.
Yeah.
And what I said's the best I got after hours of staring at it like I couldn't see a forest in the trees.
Right. Well, I mean, within a few weeks, they will have to come out with a number.
Yeah, so it'll probably be, they'll have a meeting, I believe, the second Monday in September, because they meet on Mondays, they won't meet on Labor Day. So I'm guessing, what is that, the 12th? Yeah. 11th, maybe? And so they'll probably have, my guess, if they don't have it then, they've got to have it done by their second meeting. Per state guidelines to turn that into the county. That'll be, like we said in one of our previous shows, that'll be the preliminary state you get in November, and what they pass in December is what you will get in March.
Yep.
Through Hennepin County, because the county is the tax collector in Minnesota.
Correct. Well, and so that's the budget, and like we stated, there are many other ways.
Well, that's it.
That's it. Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
There are many other ways, especially in New Hope, that you pay taxes, and one of those is bonding. And as we look,
bonding's a tax? You're kidding?
What? No, it's like an investment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not when you're on the borrowing side.
Yeah.
Or sorry, when you're on the side that borrows versus the side that
collects.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. But yes, if you are paying somebody back for money that you borrowed, that is a tax when it comes through a government entity. And so,
backed by full faith and credit of the government. Let me translate that. They can tax your head off.
Yeah.
To pay for whatever they've decided to spend.
Yep. Absolutely. So, what's the new bonding project that we're talking about? Well, they want to redo the police station, the city hall, the pool, the fire department, the whole thing. Let's just redo it. The area just west of Xylon Avenue, over by Hy-Vee,
the old Kmart.
Yeah, they want to take what they've got and they want to build some Taj Mahal over there.
It's just not good enough over there. I mean, they got Plymouth to compete with. Golden Valley to the south, they're redoing everything at Brookview there by Channel 11. So, I mean, New Hope can't be outdone by that.
Oh, no.
Come on here. I mean, there's no way that can happen. Now we've got some figures to run by everybody about at their meeting on Monday, August 28th. Okay. They passed, again, this is government speak, so just stick with me on this. They passed a resolution authorizing the discussion of spending up to $25 million in what's called general obligation bonds.
That's correct.
Now, there's a couple different forms of bonding, but since the city hall is not revenue generating, you can't use lease revenue bonds.
Right.
They were just doing the pool. They could use lease revenue bonds because people pay to use the pool. So they don't have a choice with this. General obligation bonds are all they can do. And the resolution passed, unanimously, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
To have that public hearing on September 25th. So September 25th is the night to show up. Of course, again, my guess is
Christmas night.
No, September.
Oh, September. Sorry.
Yeah, Christmas.
Musicians' ears. You got to speak up.
Sorry, I'll speak more clearly.
Okay.
Sorry, I got 2020 hearing, so it's. So think about that for a minute.
All right.
A resolution authorizing a hearing to spend up to $25 million in bonding. Now, that's bonding. All of it is bonding.
Right. New
Hope doesn't have $50 to pay for these buildings.
No, not like Crystal, who built a whole new building from cash. Right. And I want to say, originally they had the limit set at $20,000, and they raised it
$20 million.
$20 million. Sorry.
$20,000, I wouldn't even buy a government bathroom.
Oh boy. $25 million is the new number because they wanted to have a slush fund in there just in case things got more expensive.
Well, if they didn't have enough bike paths and bike racks and electric car charging stations and things like that, they gotta, my guess is they're going to add that at some point.
Right, and that's us giving it to you in real world terms, you know. In government speak, it's all nice and flowery. The higher amount is not to exceed the amount that provides flexibility if costs are higher than anticipated. Now, when costs are higher than anticipated, because with inflation and the rate things go up, and we got to add this. Green Step says we have to do it this way. Yeah. LEED says we have to do it this way.
And aren't they supposed to get a bid to do this?
Didn't they, from one company?
From Wold Architects. Yeah. I mean, so shouldn't they? How about you do this? How about you figure out what it's going to cost and say, okay, that's all we're paying.
Which would be nice, because they did do a cost analysis. Wold did, and they came out with $18,105,570.
But they want to authorize up to $25 million. Well, so that's almost $7 million more to do what?
Exactly. Now, if I gave somebody a bid and said that...
Yeah, no kidding. I was thinking the same... I'm thinking what you're thinking.
If this... I'll do this work for you for $18 million, and then I come back and say, prices went up.
Yeah, somebody's on family medical leave. Yeah.
Jim took a lot of lunch breaks. It's really more like 25. I would be irate if I was trying to pay somebody to do work for $18 million.
You're breaching a contract is what you're doing. I mean, you and I make a contract with each other. We'll know when keep the lawyers out.
Right.
We'll know when one of us has breached it. If I hired you to paint my house for $1,000, you did it and came back and demanded $2,000.
Right.
I'd say, go jump in a lake.
Now, there are exceptions to that.
But you come back to somebody and say that.
It's like, hey, your original website, your code didn't work exactly how we had anticipated before we got into it. This is taking us longer than normal. Here's why this is,
But you also lay that out in a bid sometimes.
Right.
Too. Hey, look. I'm going to fix your wall, but I don't know what's behind there.
Right.
Okay? Yeah, I mean, to me, it's okay. If they would have issued bonds for $19 million, that's one thing. Okay, they might go over by a little bit. We might run into an issue. 25?
That's a big jump.
I mean, out of $18 million, that's like 35%. How come nobody wants to loan? How come nobody wants to give me money for that?
Yeah. Yeah, 35%, it could cost us $100. It could cost us, $850. It's, I don't know.
And now
cost us $1 million.
Yeah, and now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Since they don't have any money to pay for this, you're going to borrow all of it.
Oh, exactly.
And you're going to pay a yearly interest on this debt. So the total cost of this project is probably north of $30 million.
Probably, once it's all said and done. And how much of this is going to be... I mean, this is pretty much just the buildings and the property, but what about if the changes need to be made to the right-of-way or, the surrounding properties? I
don't know.
Because the maps, they don't really paint a very clear picture.
And this is a Taj Mahal.
Yes, it is.
Okay, they're not building another building that looks like what they've got. I mean, I took pictures, folks, of this, their graphs and their little charts and their design on my phone. It took me 3 pictures to get everything in because there's so much. Actually, 4. They've got brand new everything for police, brand new public conference rooms, brand new city council chambers. I mean, every department's going to have their own cornerstone of this place. At the current one now, they probably got a couple of offices, 1 meeting room, and blah, blah, blah. Here, every department, I'm sitting here staring at HR, city management, community development, and parks and rec. Now, that's probably 15 rooms just for those.
Wow.
Another public conference room, and the list just goes on. A fitness center, locker rooms. I guess that's probably for police. I don't know what a Sally Port is, but there's a Sally Port. There's a whole new booking station and everything. There's a coffee lounge, clerical stations. I mean, some of this stuff I understand, but I mean, it's way, way bigger than it is now. They also have I'm going to propose a brand new parking garage and ramp. Nobody will have to park outside. I'm sure it is. And there's all these photos of how these rooms with their granite countertops and all that kind of stuff, Cambria countertops or whatever, are going to be used. I mean, it's a big, big, big project.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't this. It's going to look nothing like it is. They're building an Eiffel Tower for themselves.
Yes.
That is how to put it. Totally out of whack with this city. Completely out of whack.
But I think they're out of touch with the city as well.
Probably.
I mean, they went and gave, I don't know how they conducted another fantastic survey, but they did. And here's the kind they actually did let us know what kind of questions they asked on this thing. And it's like, the police station and city hall location was chosen because of soil conditions on the Civic Center site, to limit the impact of the new building on the surrounding neighborhood, and to enable city staff to remain in place while the new building is being constructed. What is your impression of how the proposed building is situated on the Civic Center site? What kind of question is that? How about, do I want you to build this huge monument to yourselves or not? There's a good question. No. Do you like how it's situated on the site? What kind of questions is that? Taking into account that this is the basic design phase and the design details like building materials, window placement, etc. have not yet been defined, what is your initial impression of the design for the proposed police station and city hall? It's like, so this all could change, but what do you think? And again, an option is not, do I even want this?
Yeah, or looks great, but why don't you cut it down about a half?
They ask a question, which pool concept do you prefer? Of course, they don't say none of the above as an answer.
They want water, right?
Which park concept do you prefer? Again, none of the above is an answer. So it's always...
Why can't they just leave the park alone?
Yeah,
why
exactly.
Does the park part of City Hall?
Yeah.
What's wrong with the park?
I don't know. But you got to redo it all. You redo part of it. You got to redo it all. And it just blows my mind though, because they ask these questions and they're so misleading. They're leading questions. It's like, of these, which do you like? Well, I don't like any of them. Well, that's not a choice. Your choice is which one do you like?
Which one do you hate the least?
They take these results that are already skewed back and say, well, here's what the people want.
And let me ask you this. How many people know what a design... I'm not sure I even know what a design phase means.
Well, that's just where you're coming up with the design of the building. I mean,
right.
you're...
But if my first question, well, how many more phases are there? I mean,
right.
Now that the windows are... Well, the windows aren't going to make or break something. I
know. No, why don't we start with the cost? I want to hear
more questions. I want to hear more.
That's all they got. Yeah. It's pretty hard hitting. 4 questions.
4 questions.
And they're as vague and as misleading as you can get.
Who came up with those questions? I'll tell you.
How much did they make to come up with those questions?
Yeah, somebody ought to hire them to be political consultants. People who came up with that. My God.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who came up with it. Does it say?
And by the way, let's pretend that, and forget the interest rate. People can't. They keep focusing on interest rates. It's total dollars that you have to pay attention to. So if this thing costs $24 million and it ended up paying $30 million, okay, that means for every $30 spent on that project, $6 goes to the banker, 24 goes to the project.
Okay.
I mean, remember that. So if they talk about a 5% interest rate, well, remember, that's yearly. It's not just 5%. It's not, okay, it's $20 million, 5% interest, so whatever 5% of $20. No.
Right.
That's not how it works. Interest is phased in.
Yeah.
And you pay it heavy up front.
Yep.
And you pay it less as you pay off more. Like, think of your house.
Yeah. Or a credit card. The interest you pay is less the more the principal goes down.
Right. So it's the same concept here. You can have a low interest rate and still pay a lot of interest.
Absolutely.
You people who own homes know. There's a 5% interest rate on a $200,000 home. Well, what does it mean you're paying $200,000 plus 5%? No. It's not how it works.
Right.
You make that payment, and when you start out, half that money is interest.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Because it's all front-loaded, because that's how the bank makes their money. So the idea that, the interest rates are low, and they're not going to stay low forever, and it's only if you have a fixed rate, I might add.
Right.
So it's the way they're going to say it, again, is just...
Yeah.
Is so... borderline criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's borderline, I don't want to call it out and out lying, but it's lying by omission.
Yeah. Well, they're only going to say, well, here's what you're paying in interest. That's what they're going to tell people, but they're not going to tell them about, all the principal.
Yeah, they will. It'll be on page 261 of the 300-page packet. Nobody will get that far. Even the council members won't look at it. That's what's going to happen. It'll be there somewhere. If you dig for it, if you spend 8 hours on their website, you'll find it.
So again, I mean, just like guessing, though. I mean, guessing back in the napkin math. I mean, we're looking at maybe $23 million for the whole project. If
it's ballpark.
So that's pretty expensive. I mean, when you're looking at what we figured. How many households in New Hope? Probably
7,000-8,000, maybe. I think we guessed. Yeah, maybe a little more than that. I mean, it depends what they consider a household, and you and I have talked about that.
Right.
An apartment building, are they all separate households? I think they are, but I'm not completely sure.
Right.
Yeah, you're looking at $2,875 per household.
Yeah, and over a 15-year bond, I mean, that's almost $200 a year. Which, that adds up.
Yeah,
when you put it with increases in the general levy, when you put it with increases in franchise fees and everything else.
And add to it, this won't be in the budget.
Right. It won't be.
The debt service will be.
Yeah.
But this, you might say, well, you got a $9 million levy. How you getting a $20 million bill? Well, they don't put it on there.
Right.
So it's just another little... I don't want to call it a trick or a gimmick, but you might as well call it that.
Yeah.
That you won't be able to just look it up. So it'll be crazy, and they want to get this done. They want to sell these bonds in November. November 13th is the goal for the first round, and the second round in mid-December.
Yeah.
So they're going with this.
That's fantastic, and. The appeal is wide. I did find here approximately 50 people attended their open house for this project. 50 people out of 23,000. 4 of which completed surveys at the time of the open house. In total, the paper...
I bet it was 4 from the city council.
In total, the paper survey was completed by 18 individuals, including 10 non-residents. So 8 people from New Hope filled out the paper survey. And,
wow, I'll tell you, that's good work reading the people there.
Yeah, and then 40 residents completed the online survey. So 48 people... completed the survey.
Wow.
Way to go, New Hope. Way to interact with your community. Way to get out there and find the pulse of the people, because I don't think anybody is as dialed in as you are.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up with this. Okay. We've just talked about 3 issues that I'm sure people listening to this are not happy right now.
Right.
I'm sure they're, but I can't emphasize enough, if you live in New Hope, you have got to turn getting ticked off on this podcast into action. Mm-hmm. You can't sit at home and be angry and yell at the TV and, get so mad you throw your cat in the microwave or whatever. You've got to turn this into action.
Yeah.
And that may be a letter to the editor. That may be joining a commission. That may be starting a blog. That may be attending work sessions. That may be considering a run for the council.
Yeah.
It may be working on somebody else's campaign. It may be doing what you and I do. But I'm telling you, and I'm going to tell this, I'm going to say this, you and I are going to say this every podcast till we're 114 years old. If you don't turn your beliefs into action, there's these kinds of people. There's people that make things happen. There's people that watch things happen. There's people that go, what happened?
Right.
Don't be a person that goes, what happened?
Or a person who watches things happen.
You can't watch it happen either.
No.
So you've got to be somebody who makes things happen. And you can change things. Everything isn't written in stone. It may take a long time. It may be a long-term vision to change a city council completely. But it's a reality. It's something that you've got to go for. And if you live in New Hope and you listen to this podcast, I guarantee you right now you got a nail gun out and you are looking for targets. I'm figuratively speaking, of course. We don't want to shoot nail guns at anybody.
No.
But you're thinking of going to the gun range right now, and I this is how you and I felt in 2009, 2010. And I'm telling you, you've got to turn this into action because you've got a group, a city council that has run unopposed, has done whatever they want to do. They're all part of the same little clique. Sound familiar? And you've got to break into that and break out of it.
Yeah.
It's not going to change any other way. City staff ain't going anywhere.
No, they're not.
So you have to make these changes on your own.
And I'm going to go a step further than you go. It is important that you write a letter to the editor and do all that stuff if you're upset. I'm going to take it a step further. Tomorrow morning, or if you're on your way home, stop on your way home by the current City Hall. March in there and ask them, what commission openings do you have? and tell yourself, I can give up
2 hours a month.
2 hours a month.
Yeah.
2 hours a month to try and change your community.
Yeah, how many hours a month do you spend watching football versus changing your community?
One game is 3 hours.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing I was told about church. How many hours on Sunday do you spend at church, and how many hours do you spend watching football? Look how out of proportion your priorities are. Yeah.
So that's my challenge to you if you live in New Hope. Let's go fill up those commission spots. And those of you who really want to get involved and maybe are thinking about running, you better get on a commission. March down there, especially you, and get on a commission. And then
I can think of some other things to do when you get down to City Hall, but I won't say them out loud.
Oh my word. The flaming bag of poop on the doorstep is not a good idea.
I know. I was thinking about dropping your pants. But...
Well, all right. So I want you to go down there, fill out an application for what... It doesn't matter what's open. It doesn't matter if you're more interested in planning than parks or environmental quality more than planning. It doesn't matter. Go down there and fill out an application. Wait for your interview and get on a commission, especially if you're even toying with running, because it's going to help you with the day-to-day in understanding how the city is run. And for those of you that are not in New Hope and you've listened to this whole thing, this stuff is going on in your city. It is going on in your city as well. Maybe not to the degree that it's in New Hope, or maybe it's worse. It doesn't matter. If it's going on at all, you need to have a voice in it. And so be thinking about these things as well. Go ahead.
And try to dissect New Hope's budget page. I challenge anybody out there.
Maybe we should have a creative contest. We'll have to talk about that. That would be fun.
It's pretty bad. And I'll tell you what, but you mentioned things being, that's what we said at the top of the program about organized garbage hauling. I mean, every city has probably thought about it, is going to think about it, has already done it. Budget is going on everywhere right now.
Right.
And new buildings, there's something that go on in every city too.
Oh.
I've been down to Apple Valleys. I've been up to Ramses.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Eiffel Towers of those cities. And I'm telling you, there's one being built in Golden Valley right now. This is, again, a new trendy thing. And what do you want to bet? City next door says, hey, they got a beautiful, new, spacious thing. We got to compete with those cities. I mean, I don't have as much office space as the city manager over there. So, I guarantee you they all have an end of life schedule, and they're all going to be looking for it. So, you get the wrong people on the city council, this stuff's going to get, pushed through or pencil whipped.
It will, and that's promise. So, if you see this stuff happening in your community,
the Men's Warehouse, I guarantee it.
That's right.
Whatever happened to that guy who did those commercials? Is he ever around anymore? Men's Warehouse.
Yeah, that is fine.
All right, you go. I'm going to hand it off.
The highlight.
Yeah, you go ahead with the big close.
All right.
I interrupted your big close.
That's all right. It was important, I think. All right. Anything happening in your community you want to talk about? Getting on a commission, you want to talk about how do I get involved, you want to talk about running, you want to talk about anything that matters at all, we're here. You let us know at COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. And your story is compelling enough, we'll probably share it on the podcast and let people know what's happening in your area. Also, don't forget about our blog, COMMsolutionsMN.com, because that's where you're going to find out all the information. That's where you're going to read it first, because these newspapers, quote unquote, they don't tell you like it is. So you're going to have to come to us. That's just the way it is, and we like it that way, frankly. So, for Andrew Richter, I am Jason Bradley. We're going to be back in another week with another installment of the Community Solutions Podcast. So share it wide and far, and do what you got to do. Get to work, Minnesota. We love you.